Hello children, my name is Achla Verma and I teach mathematics to classes 11th and 12th at Birla Balika Vidyapeeth, Pilani, Rajasthan. The topic for today's lesson is conic sections. Tell me, how many of you love to eat ice creams? I'm sure many of you like to eat ice creams, and especially when it is available in a cone. Have you observed the shape of the cone keenly? Can you list some objects in real life which are in the shape of a cone? The next slide you can see show many of the real life objects which look like a cone. Here, so you all know that a cone is a 3D shaped figure which has a flat base and a curved lateral surface with a point on the top which is called as the vertex. The things in our real life which have this shape are called as conical. Did you anytime think that can we cut this cone using a plane? Now, in this lesson, you will be able to understand what is a double napped cone. You will be able to find out the different cross sections of the cone. What happens to the cone if we cut it using a plane? What are the different shapes that we get when we cut the cone using a plane? You will also learn to define the shapes like circle, ellipse, parabola, and hyperbola. You will learn to identify the parts of these shapes and also find the equations of these shapes. Now, the next video will make you understand how a double napped right circular cone is generated. Let us take two lines. One line is fixed and the other one rotates around the fixed line in this way. You can see it in the video also. And we form a double napped cone. Did you anytime, the point that is fixed is called the vertex. The line that rotates around this double napped cone is called the generator. The line which is fixed is called the axis. The cone that is formed is a right circular cone. And you have one cone above and one below. The cone on the top is called the upper nap and the cone below is called the lower nap. This is how you get a double napped cone with a vertical angle which is fixed. Now we can cut this cone using a plane at different places with a different angle. Whenever we use a plane to cut a figure, the shape that we get is called as a cross section. And the cross section varies with the angle made by the plane with the cone. So this video has told us how a double napped right circular cone is generated. And the fixed line is an axis. The line that rotates is called the generator. The common point of both the lines is called the vertex. And we also learned that there are two cones formed in this figure. One is above and the other is below, and they are called as double napped cones because nap means a curved surface. And hence a double napped cone is formed. Now the next video will explain you about what happens when we cut a cone with a plane. When this double napped cone is when we cut the plane parallel to the base or perpendicular to the axis, what the shape that we get is circular. Now, similarly, if we take another plane and cut it at an angle, acute angle to the axis, the shape that we get is elliptical. the same plane, we place it parallel to the generator and cut the cone. And we get the shape as an open curve, which is called as a parabola. We now place the plane parallel to the axis. When we cut the cone, double napped cone, with a plane parallel to the axis, we get a disjoint symmetric open curve, which is called as a hyperbola. So you now understand that there are 4 cross sections that we get when we use a plane to cut the cone. We get a circle, we get an ellipse, we get a parabola, and we get an hyperbola. So this video has helped us to understand all these shapes. Let us look at them once again, that when we cut the cone parallel to the base or at right angle to the axis, the shape that we get is a circle. When we cut the cone at an acute angle to the axis, we get an ellipse. When we cut the cone parallel to the generator using the plane, we get a parabola. And when we cut the cone parallel to the axis, the plane is parallel to the axis, what we get is a hyperbola. Now let us understand each of these figures and define them first. How is a circle formed? How is an ellipse formed? How is a parabola formed? And how is a hyperbola formed? Let us look at this in the next slide. Now in this you can see that a circle is set of all points that are equidistant from a fixed point. That is, when we join all the points that are equidistant from a fixed point, the shape that we get is a circle. So we define circle as locus of points in a plane equidistant from a fixed point. This fixed point is called center, and the fixed distance is called as the radius. We move to the next figure. Now, this is an ellipse. How is it formed? You must have learned it in your lower classes when you had done in science the solar system. When you fix 2 points and use a thread and a pencil to draw a figure, as you see in the video, the shape that you get is called ellipse. It is an elongated circle and it is called as an ellipse. So how do we define it then? The locus of all the points in a plane such that the sum of the distances from 2 fixed points is a constant is called an ellipse. The 2 fixed points are called as foci. The next figure now. It's parabola. You can see an animated image in which you see that the points on this shape parabola, they are at equal distance from a fixed point and a fixed line. This fixed point is called as focus and the fixed line is called as the directrix. And what we get, the shape is an open curve which is called as parabola. The next, hyperbola. How is it formed? You can see the animated image. There are a set of points that are following a particular rule. And what is that rule? The difference between the distance of a point on this curve from the 2 fixed points is a constant. So we get all these points which are joined and we get a figure which is symmetric and disjoint. And that's why it is called as hyperbola. The 2 fixed points are called as foci. We know we are able to define the figures now. We'll try to understand how to find the equations of all these figures. Now, the first figure is the circle. Let us place the circle in the Cartesian coordinate system. if we need to find equation of any figure, we first need to place it in the Cartesian coordinate system. Now, when we place the circle in the Cartesian coordinate system, taking origin as the center, then this circle is going to be symmetric about both x-axis and y-axis. What do we mean by symmetric? Symmetric means if we fold the circle along the x-axis, the figure overlaps itself, covers itself completely. Or if you fold it along the y-axis, even then the figure covers itself and coincides properly, perfectly. Such a figure is called symmetric. So when the circle is placed with origin as center, and we would find it symmetric about both x and y axis. As we have learned the definition of the circle, which says locus of points which are equidistant from a fixed point. So now our fixed point is origin, and the point on the circle is x comma y, and the radius of the circle is r. We simply apply the distance formula to find out the equation of the circle. That is x minus 0 whole square plus y minus 0 the whole square gives r square. When we simplify, it is simply equal to x square plus y square equal to r square. This is the equation of circle when the center is origin and radius is r. Suppose the center is not origin, it is h comma k and the radius is r. Then the equation of circle follows the same rule, the distance formula we apply, and we get it x minus h the whole square plus y minus k the whole square equal to r square. That's how we get the equation of the circle, with center as h comma k and radius as r. Let us now move to the next figure, that is ellipse. It's a very important figure and has many parts. So let us first understand the parts of this figure ellipse. Again, we place the ellipse on the Cartesian coordinate system, taking origin as the center of the ellipse. You know that ellipse is an elongated circle. So one of the axes would be a longer axis and the other would be shorter. Hence, you can place ellipse in the Cartesian coordinate system in two different ways. You can take the longer axis as your x-axis, or you can take the longer axis as the y-axis. The longer axis is always called as the major axis of the ellipse, and the other one, the shorter one, is called as the minor axis. And remember, the focus of the ellipse lies on the major axis. And hence, if x-axis is the major axis, the focus will lie on the x-axis. And we would take the coordinates of the focus as c comma 0 and minus c comma 0. The point where the ellipse meets the x-axis or the major axis is called as the vertex. So in this case, where x-axis is major axis, the coordinates of the vertex would be a comma 0 and minus a comma 0. And the point where the ellipse meets the minor axis is called as the point B, which is now in this case 0 comma B and 0 comma minus B. We got three numbers here, A, B and C. If you look at these three numbers, we would find that they form a Pythagorean triplet and A is the largest among all the three. Hence, the relationship between these three numbers is A square equal to B square plus C square. Now, the next one is the latus rectum. We have another part of the ellipse which is called as latus rectum, and this means it is a perpendicular drawn on the focus on the major axis. So a line segment, latus rectum, is length of the line segment that is perpendicular to the focus drawn on the major axis. Now we use the definition of ellipse to find the equation of ellipse. The definition says that set of all those points which follow a certain rule, that is sum of the distances from two fixed points is a constant. Now, how to make it easy to understand? Let us take that point P of the ellipse lies at the vertex. Now, what happens at the vertex? When we find the distance from the focus of this point, one vertex which we have taken would be equal to 2a, which is length of the major axis. And that's how we come to know that Pf1 plus Pf2 is equal to 2a. When we apply the distance formula and simplify, we get the equation of ellipse as x square upon a square plus y square upon b square is equal to 1. Now, this is the equation of ellipse when x-axis is the major axis. If the y-axis is the major axis, the equation changes to y square upon a square plus x square upon b square is equal to 1. Remember, the major axis is always taken first when we write the equation of an ellipse. Now, there is another part which is called as eccentricity. It's a number and it is the ratio of C and A. And you know, in case of ellipse, A is the largest number among ABC. Hence, C by A is a number which is less than 1. So let us summarize what all we learned regarding the equation of ellipse. Ellipse is symmetric about both x and y axis. The coordinates of the center of the ellipse is 0, 0. Relationship between A, B and C is A square equal to B square plus C square. Then equation of an ellipse when x-axis is major axis is x square upon A square plus y square upon B square is equal to 1. And the coordinates of the vertices in this case is plus or minus A, 0. The coordinates of the foci in this case is plus or minus C, 0. Similarly, when the y-axis is the major axis, the equation of ellipse is y square upon a square plus x square upon b square is equal to 1. And the coordinates of the vertices are 0, plus or minus a, and coordinates of the foci are 0, plus or minus c. In both the cases, length of major axis would always be taken as 2a, length of minor axis would be taken as 2b, eccentricity would be taken as C by A, and length of lattice rectum would be taken as 2b square upon A. I hope you have understood the equation of ellipse and its parts. We now move to the next figure, that is parabola. Let us place the parabola in the Cartesian coordinate system. This parabola, when we place it in the Cartesian coordinate system, the vertex is always at the origin, and because it is open curve, it can be placed on one particular axis on one side. So we can place it either on the positive x-axis or on the negative x-axis, or we can place it on positive y-axis or negative y-axis. Accordingly, the focus would change and the directrix would change. Remember, when we place it on the axis, only one of the axes becomes the axis for the parabola. Hence, parabola is symmetric about either x-axis or y-axis. It cannot be symmetric to both of them at the same time. Now, when the focus is on x-axis, then the parabola is also called as a horizontal parabola, and the directrix would be parallel to y-axis. And the equation of directrix then would be equal to x equal to some constant. For example, if we take the parabola which is on the positive x-axis, which is symmetric about the positive x-axis, the focus is equal to a, 0, and the equation of directrix would be x equal to minus a. Similarly, if we shift this parabola as a vertical parabola and place it symmetric about the y-axis and the vertex at origin, we get the focus as 0, a, and the equation of directrix will be parallel to the x-axis, and it would be equal to y equal to minus a. And there is one more part again, latus rectum. It is again same definition, that latus rectum is a line segment which is passing through the focus and is perpendicular to the axis. So we can now find the equation of the parabola using the same rule that we have studied in the definition of parabola. And what was that rule? That every point on the parabola is at equal distance from focus and directrix. So we will be using distance formula from focus to the point on the parabola, that is x comma y, and we find out the perpendicular distance of the point from the directrix. We equate these two and simplify and get equation of the parabola as, if x-axis is the axis of the parabola, the equation of parabola will be y square equal to 4ax, and the coordinates of the focus are a comma 0 and coordinates of vertices are 0 comma 0, and then length of latus rectum is equal to 4a. Similarly, if the parabola is placed along the y-axis as axis of the parabola, then the equation of parabola becomes x square is equal to 4ay, and the focus coordinates of the focus are 0 comma a, coordinates of vertices remain same 0 0, and the length of latus rectum is 4a. Next, we move on to the next figure, that is hyperbola. As per the ellipse, even hyperbola has many parts. There is lots of similarity between ellipse and hyperbola. In fact, if you look at hyperbola, it is just the other way around of the ellipse. You take an ellipse, cut it into two parts, and just turn them around, you get a hyperbola. However, we didn't define hyperbola that way. But the similarity is, when you place the hyperbola in the Cartesian coordinate system, it would again can be placed in two different ways, either taking x-axis as an axis where the focus will lie, or taking y-axis as an axis where focus would lie. Remember, hyperbola is also symmetric about x-axis as well as y-axis. That is the similarity between ellipse and hyperbola. Then we had called in ellipse as the major axis for the axis where the focus lies. But whereas in case of hyperbola, the axis on which the focus will lie is called as the transverse axis, and the other one is called the conjugate axis. So either x-axis can be a transverse axis or y-axis can be a transverse axis. Now we have these three numbers playing their role here. Similarly, as in ellipse, vertex is a point of intersection of hyperbola and the transverse axis. And focus would be same as in ellipse, c comma 0 and minus c comma 0. Vertex is a comma 0 and minus a comma 0. This is the case when our transverse axis is on x-axis. And here, the other axis, the figure does not meet the other axis, but the highest value taken by the y coordinate is called as the number b. Again, these three numbers form Pythagorean triplets, and here in this figure, c becomes the greatest of the three numbers, and hence c square is equal to a square plus b square. So the relationship between all the three numbers are clear to us. We know that the figure is symmetric about x-axis and y-axis. And we also know what is a transverse axis and a conjugate axis. Now, how do we define the equation of the hyperbola? We use the definition. The rule that was followed was difference of the points that are difference of the distance from the focus is a constant, is called a hyperbola. So we use the same concept. We take a point P, x comma y on hyperbola, take the distance from the focus, P f1 minus P f2 will be a constant, which would again be equal to 2a in this case also. And when we simplify using distance formula and solve it, the equation that we get is equal to, if the x-axis is the transverse axis, then the equation of the hyperbola is x square upon a square minus y square upon b square is equal to 1. Similarly, if the y-axis is the transverse axis, then the equation of hyperbola is y square upon a square minus x square upon b square is equal to 1. Now remember, a and b, there is no such rule that a has to be the greatest among these two numbers. The only rule that has to be followed is a square plus b square is equal to c square. That's all. C is the largest, but among a and b, it is not necessary that a only has to be the largest. It could be b also greater than a. Now the next, so what all we have learnt about this figure? The equation of hyperbola when x-axis is the transverse axis is x square upon a square minus y square upon b square is equal to 1. The coordinates of the vertices are plus or minus a comma 0. Coordinates of the foci are plus or minus c comma 0. And when the y-axis is the transverse axis, the equation of hyperbola is y square upon a square minus x square upon b square is equal to 1. The coordinates of the vertices are 0, plus or minus a. Coordinates of foci are 0, plus or minus c. In both the cases, length of transverse axis will be equal to 2a. Length of conjugate axis will be 2b. Eccentricity again would be c upon a. Here c is the largest, hence the eccentricity would always be greater than 1. Length of latus rectum would be 2b square upon a. This completes our concepts that are related with conic sections. I hope you have understood all these. And I'm very sure that this particular lesson has helped you to understand, and you will be able to explain how a double nabbed right circular cone is generated. You will also be able to find the different cross sections of the cone, and you will be able to explain their definitions. You will be able to identify the different parts of these figures and find out the equations. Let us revise with the help of these few questions. What is a double napped cone? I'm sure you will all be able to answer what a double napped cone is and why is it called a napped cone. What is the angle of a plane while cutting a cone to get an ellipse? Obviously, you all know the answer, that it is an acute angle. Write the center and radius of the circle x minus 2 whole square plus y plus 3 whole square equal to 7 square. It's a very easy question and I'm sure you will be able to answer. Define a major axis in an ellipse. What is a major axis in an ellipse? Yes, you know it very well, that an axis on which the focus will lie is called the major axis of an ellipse. What is the equation of an ellipse with major axis as y-axis? We have done it just now, so you will be able to answer. Define a parabola. You have seen an animated image and I'm sure you will be able to say that it is locus of points which are equidistant from a fixed point and a fixed line. How do we get a hyperbola? The figure that we got, which is symmetric and disjoint and an open curve, and it is locus of all those points, difference of whose distances from two fixed points is a constant, is called a hyperbola. Now, can you give one real life application of hyperbola? Yes, let me tell you once that these conic sections are very useful in life and they have many real life applications. Circle is used everywhere. Ellipse, our planets, they revolve around the sun in an elliptical orbit with sun at the focus, and there are many other real life applications. You cannot study light without knowing what is a parabola. Even to design a car light, you need to know parabola. The telescopic mirrors are parabolic in shape or hyperbolic in shape. cooling towers in nuclear reactors are hyperbolic in shape. Find the equation of hyperbola where foci are 0, plus or minus 12 and the length of the lattice rectum is 36. This needs to do a little bit of calculation. The foci coordinates are 0, plus or minus 12. So C is 12 and 2b square upon A is 36. You can solve these two and find out A and B and find the equation of the hyperbola. The next question is identify the curve. I'm sure you will be able to identify this curve and find the coordinates of foci, vertices, and length of lattice rectum. Thank you.